Care-Target or the pharmacy for details. CVS Pharmacy at Target. Health is everything.
Learn what our insiders know about your home teams. Sports 1280 New Orleans.
Even though it's Saints crazy going on right now, lots of going on up in LSU. Wanted to get Andrew Lopez, of course, our colleague at NOLA.com, the Times-Picayune, covers the LSU Tigers. And which complicated story should I start off with first, Andrew? Should I mention your story on Eric Reid? Should I ask you what on planet Earth is going on with Kristian Fulton? Your pick. You get the get the pick.
Just flip a coin.
All right,
flip a coin and we'll see.
I'll flip a coin. Let's start with Kristian Fulton. Of course,
there we go.
He was a big-time recruit out of Rummel. And am I mistaken that he's never seen the field? Am I making that up, or has he played a little?
Yes, you absolutely are making that up. But
okay.
he did get on the field for like 3 games early. Nothing in terms of, I think, maybe early game defensive coverage. I think he was mostly a special teams guy. And then he ended up kind of breaking his wrist early in his freshman year. Would have ended up seeing a lot more time later on in the process. But he suffered a broken wrist, and now but he did play 3 games that first year.
So he's been off the field and away from the team, and just kind of spell out what's going on and how he's trying to fight to get back on the field through the legal channels.
Yeah, right now, so this is what's happening right now. He is under a 2-year NCAA suspension for alleged tampering with a drug test sample. Per NCAA rules, that is an automatic 2-year suspension. It is one of the stiffest penalties in the NCAA rule book. The only thing would be to be permanently ineligible. So it's about as bad as you can do. The minimum of 2 years, it's black and white in the NCAA rulebook. He did make the mistake and tampered with the sample, and now he sat out the first year. He's still allowed to practice and do those sorts of things, but he and his family have now, LSU's appeal was denied. LSU's appeal was brought up, denied right away, and now where he's at with it, they have a personal attorney who is trying to challenge the NCAA, and they're trying to see where they can go with things, whether they can get something done. It's pretty cut and dry to me. I think at best what you can get here is maybe just the NCAA going, all right, maybe, well, you're just looking for sympathy at this point. You're looking for, okay, well, we'll cut it down to a year and a half or something like that. It's pretty cut and dry what the NCAA rulebook says on this.
And where does that leave the secondary at LSU? Because this is a guy that I think a lot of people thought would fit right in there at cornerback and bolster that depth chart. So now how do things stand at cornerback?
For LSU, nothing has changed in their mind. This has been something they've been planning on for a while. They have thought throughout this process that he wasn't going to be able to play in 2018. So, which is why when we went to practice on Friday, or on Sunday, I should say, and we're looking at the DB depth chart, it's Greedy and Jontre Kirkland, it's Kerry Vincent, and then Manny Netherly, the converted wide receiver, playing ahead of Kristian Fulton, is because they know Kristian Fulton is not going to be able to play this year, barring some miraculous thing. LSU has put all of they've done everything that they can at this point. Now the family is going to look for what's called a reconsideration. There is new evidence that they are going to try and bring into this. But to me, it looks kind of bleak. They're kind of just hoping for something to happen right now, but they're going to keep trying. And I can say this, talk to some other people close to this, LSU is fully behind Kristian Fulton. They are not trying to get rid of him. They are going to stand behind him. They understand the kid made a mistake. And when this is all said and done and he is eligible to play again, they are going to give him in every effort to get back on the field.
Andrew Lopez covers LSU for NOLA.com and the Times-Picayune, joining us right here on Dunc and Holder. All right, let's switch gears over to your great story on Eric Reid. Headline on NOLA.com, former LSU safety Eric Reid, unafraid to sacrifice NFL career for his principles. Of course, it's pretty widely known that he's been one of the primary people to take a knee in protest of racial inequality and the police brutality and such things, and you had a chance to catch up with him. I know you've been working on this story for a long, long time.
Yeah.
And he's on the verge of free agency, and of course there's been this talk of, say, teams like the Texans not wanting to bring in a guy because of this. Just the overall scope. I mean, it's a long read. If you got time to go check it out, please do, because Lopes did a great job with the story. But just what are his thoughts heading into free agency, and just the kind of the persona that people maybe think that's around him because of his protests?
Yeah, he is like we say in the headline, he is unafraid. He is not scared about what is about to happen. This has been something that he has known could happen the entire time. He watched, what happened to certain athletes, what happened to obviously Colin Kaepernick. Him and Kaepernick became very, very close over the last year. He told me they text almost daily. They talk almost daily. And he watched Colin Kaepernick sit on the sidelines last year where, you can make the argument or not, but a lot of backup quarterbacks got a chance that Colin Kaepernick was probably better than last year. And whether or not you were going to sign him because you didn't want the headache, that was a whole other issue. But Eric Reid is in that boat right now, and he is well aware that this may happen to him. He might get Kaepernick. He might not be able to play, and he's okay with that. And I think the family is also okay with that. At the same time, and this is something we didn't touch on in the story, his brother Justin Reid is one of the top safeties in the draft this year. He was a 3-year guy at Stanford, developed very quickly, and he's projected as a 2nd or 3rd round pick. There was a little bit of, will somebody not touch Justin because they wouldn't touch Eric on the same sort of thing? So there's a lot going into it, but right now he's happy with it. He has made his decision. You look back at some of the things that he's done over the last year. This is a guy who has been a union rep since his 2nd year in the league. You guys know that's not something that happens every day with every team, where your 2nd-year guy who's coming in there at 23 years old is your union rep for the next 4 years. He's got that covered. He showed his value this year when he played multiple positions. He was moved to linebacker. He went back to safety. This is a guy who's still got stuff in the tank at 26 years old. And, he is well aware that they're not going to be coming like they were probably if, he wasn't taking a knee.
One of the things I think is interesting in the story, Andrew, and it's important for people to understand, because I think you do a great job of, removing the veneer of just an NFL athlete, because I think it's so easy to just kind of look at these guys and not really get to know them. And so you tell the story of Eric Reid and his family, his grandfather. You get into the background of what led him to make this decision. It wasn't just some fly-by-night, I think it'll be something cool to support Colin Kaepernick. You can tell Eric Reid put a lot of thought and time and consideration into what he was doing. And I think it's important for listeners to know Eric Reid's family background and how that influenced him.
Yeah, Eric Reid he was raised by Eric Reid Sr., who was a track All-American at LSU in the 80s. His mother, Sharon Guillory Reid, who has been very involved with the NFL mothers and things of that nature. His mother was actually going to go to the Gulf War had it not been for her getting pregnant with Eric. Her brother served 25-plus years in the military. Eric's grandfather served in the military, and his 2 brothers also served, his 2 great uncles. So he comes from this background, and he touched base with them before they did that. And those members of his family, we talked to his grandfather in the story, he is very much behind what his grandson is doing. He remembers when he came back from fighting that he was still discriminated against when he got back. So this is something that is touching to them. We talk about when Eric Reid when he was in college, he's at LSU. He felt like he was racially profiled on a traffic stop where he was just trying to get back to his apartment and he was told that he blared his music by, when he was going by this officer who was guarding a street because there was a concert going on nearby. So He talked about how that kind of shook him up, and he was written up for that. But it's a lot more that goes into it. And this is a guy who, when he was hosting a golf tournament in Baton Rouge every year, and during that golf tournament, it's for the Sickle Cell Anemia Foundation, the Baton Rouge Sickle Cell Anemia Foundation, and also goes to provide for a summer camp for that Breck puts on in conjunction with the foundation. And when 5 or 6 sponsors pulled out last year because they didn't want to be associated with Eric Reid, even though that they were taking away money from children, from sick children, but they were like, no, we don't want to be associated with Eric Reid. Eric Reid stepped up and paid out of his own pocket and made sure that the kids still had summer camp. He pledged $10,000 to Breck, to the organization, to make sure that happened. That's the kind of guy this is. He's not doing this just to draw attention to himself. He's doing it to draw attention to the cause, and this is why he's doing it.
Andrew Lopez's great story. Go check it out. Former LSU safety Eric Reid, unafraid to sacrifice NFL career for his principles. It's up at NOLA.com. I know it's getting traction across the internet. Make sure you go check it out. Even if you agree or disagree with his methods, I think it's worth everyone's time to go take a read, just because he's one of the greats that ever came from LSU. All right, let's switch gears real quick here. LSU taking on ULL in the NIT tomorrow night. Did I see ULL's coach basically calling out LSU, saying they want no part of us? And what's going on here? Are they gonna,
People don't do that anymore.
Are they gonna is it gonna be like on the baseball field when the two teams brawl and in the middle of the game? What's going on?
I love it.
I don't think we're going to see any brawls tomorrow night, but it was very clear that Bob Marlin, the coach of UL, who's a great guy. I've talked to him several times and met him. We're talking the other night actually about some things that he had set up and that he was doing. He said basically this has been a thing for UL and LSU for a while, where he says as soon as Will Wade got the job, he tried to call and set a game up. It didn't happen. It didn't work. But I'm not sure if I'm Will Wade if I'd have took that game in the beginning of the year when I'm trying to build wins and get things done like that. But this is one of those rivalries that extends, way beyond the playing field, whether it's LSU fans trying to figure out if it's UL or ULL or USL or SIL or whatever name you want to call the university in Lafayette, or UL fans calling it LSU BR A&M because that's the official name of the school. It's little things.
You sound like an eye chart. I don't know what's going on.
Clyde is shaking his head because Clyde is our university name
Love
expert.
Act 14, bruh.
Act 14.
And I'm saying UL, not U of L, because I don't want to upset Jeff over there.
Thank you.
I'm thinking about you, and it's just one of those things where it just kind of continues and goes on and on. But it wouldn't surprise me if, especially with the way that the Cajun Dome has been renovated now. I've been in it since it's been renovated. It's very, very nice in there. They have one of the more unique courts in the country now. It's just a nice place to be. It wouldn't surprise me if now, after all of this, if maybe Marlin and Wade sat down and tried to get some games going between these two schools. Obviously, UL, there's a lot more that you lose if you're LSU. You don't necessarily want to lose to that in-state school, but, if the way Marlin has his program running, a win over them is a win over a top 75 team, top 70 team in the country. They just won 27 games this year. So if you can get a win over them, it will still help you out. And you foster a little bit of a relationship in-state, so it kind of helps.
Yeah, do it. I mean, if you want to compete, it's what athletics are about, competition. I don't think Will Wade's scared of anybody. And that team he's going to have next year, I don't think they should be scared of anybody.
I don't know if UL is going to want to get into that game next year.
That's what I'm saying. They may back out after that. But I love this little rivalry. Bob Marlin, you're right. I've covered him for years, and he is that kind of guy, and I bet his players love playing for him. And I bet it's going to be a great environment, don't you, Andrew? Even though it's NIT, you got this little rivalry. I think it's going to be exceptional.
Yeah, it's going to be. I think it's going to be a great night. You're going to have Lafayette. Cajun fans travel very well. You remember looking at them in the Dome for New Orleans Bowl all those years. They travel well, and I think they're going to fill up part of the PMAC the other night. You have a baseball game going on Wednesday night in Baton Rouge as well, but I think what you're going to see is a lot of people in there. Ron Higgins is going to have coverage on that. I'm going to be somewhere in California at that point during the game, but it'll still be an atmosphere, and I'm going to find a way to watch it on a Watch ESPN app somewhere out on the West Coast.
There you go. Andrew Lopez, NOLA.com, the Times-Picayune, covers LSU. Hey, bud, great job, great story again on Eric Reid. And again, I recommend, if you agree or disagree with his methods of protest, it is worth your time reading. So, hey, Andrew, appreciate it, buddy.
Thanks, Lopes.
All right, appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
All right, let's take a break right here on the show. Short final segment of hour number 1 coming up, but the rest of the show is going to be Saints. If we squeeze in some Pelicans, we do, but all Saints today. Drew Brees getting a deal done. Delvin Breaux looking to be on his way out potentially. Willie Snead sticking around unless another team comes and tries to pluck him.
What do you think the chances are that Drew Brees might get a little intro at the Pels game tonight? What do you think?
Small likelihood.
I think it could happen.
Absolute likelihood. Absolutely. So, all right, we'll be talking that and getting your phone calls, 504-260-1280. So come on back here on Sports 1280, NOLA.com, the iHeartRadio app, Dunc Holder.